What is the scariest post you've stumbled upon on Reddit? The series of posts of Jason in hell on our relationship about divorcing his cheating wife. The wife tried to use their 2 children to force him to stay, and finally stabbed the kids to death. A 3-year-old girl and a 7-year-old boy. It started with a post asking what to do with his marriage after he caught his wife cheating with his neighbor. She wasn't really apologetic, but wanted him to stay and made it clear that she was going to manipulate their kids and made life hell for them if he left. He decided to put up with it, but after a year he just couldn't continue with this personal hell. So, after hearing the sub-advice, he decided to go forward with divorce and try to keep custody of the children. There is no post about the murders, but another user reported the news article about it. After a few months, Op posted an update detailing his grief, his struggle to stay alive, and ultimately how he is recovering from the loss and guilt day after day. I haven't seen it yet, so I will say The Parasite Man. I can't provide sources, because I think the original post was banned, but you can find it real easy by searching The Parasitic Man. It was basically some sub of Reddit confessions, or something like that. There was a guy that liked to infect himself with parasites, like a whole freaking bunch of them. But the most disturbing part is that all thought know that can lend to health issues. He liked to infest other people, his family, random one-night partners, even go to public spaces to infest more people. The guy know that it was wrong and was still doing it. Sorry for any mistake. English is not my first language. Saw this a while ago and didn't save it, so I may get some details wrong. There was a woman who had very extreme kinks, like fantasized about being kidnapped and kept hostage, was one of her more tame ones. Well, she made a post detailing how she was going to meet up with a man and be held in his basement for a week as a sexting. She intentionally didn't take safety precautions to heighten the thrill. Her last post was just a picture of her in the basement. People in the subreddit she frequented used her account as a cautionary tale. For this one, I don't know if scary or haunting is the best word, but I'll put it here anyway. About a year or so ago, I saw a picture post about, I may remember the details wrong, so bear with me, a famine, a time of intense and rampant hunger in India. The picture showed a man who was literally nothing but skin and bones. You could literally see his ribs through his skin, and the same was said for most of his bones. Sitting down on some sort of chair or bench, maybe even just a rock, holding onto a sharpened stick while he watched over his family during the night. Come to find out, either from the post title or the comments, that he was staying up to defend himself and his family from cannibals, because people had started needing to resort to that just to feed themselves during this time. Again, I don't know whether that's just scary or haunting. Both seem mapped to me. It is one of those pictures that had been burned into my brain. I wouldn't wish that kind thing on anyone, and the thought that this can happen to anyone, theoretically, and that this probably still actively happens to people in the world is just disturbing. There was a post similar to this I came across a while ago, and someone mentioned an old Reddit post of a child therapist talking about how is he a pedophile, and how many children he has assaulted in detail, and how he would never tell anyone any information on where he works and stuff like that. He also mentioned how he doesn't feel bad about being one cause society isn't accepting of what he does at this point in time, some BS like that. But I remember the post isn't up anymore and someone had to link it on the Wayback Machine, or whatever it was called. But regardless if the post was a troll or genuine, it was probably the most disturbing thing I've read on here. I've been here a long time. Some of the posts that have stuck with me include a guy that tried to kill himself by shooting himself in the head with a shotgun, but he survived and just blew his whole face off. There's a video where his still alive man has sitting in a car moving around confused. The neighbor that got into an argument with his neighbors across the street, a couple, over snow on each other's properties. Dude goes inside and gets a gun and proceeds to shoot both of them. The woman goes down in the street and keeps talking shit as he executes her. All caught on camera. A video of a guy doing pull-ups on the side of a skyscraper, but his strength gives out and he falls to his death. Video of a bunch of people hanging out doing redneck shit in like mud pits, I think. Dude sets off a firework in his hand, blows his whole hand apart. Has too drunk to know how much trouble has in, but some people try to get him medical attention. Video of a girl on fire begging to be killed because she's just not dying. Crowd of people all around her just watching her scream and cry on fire. Video of the big dude in the mall that gets stabbed right in the neck and almost instantly bleeds out and dies. I know y'all want links to the videos and posts, but honestly I wish I hadn't seen some of these, so I'm not going looking for them again. I remember finding an interactive iceberg on horrible Reddit stories, many quite depressing and obviously horrifying, but one that disgusted me off the most was a Redditor, who admitted to manipulating his wife into dating them by downloading her nudes off her phone, making a private alt account to blackmail her for more photographs, and comforted her to get the closer together. They mentioned how they'd do it all over again, and held no regrets. What pissed me off were the comments who tried justifying it because it had a happy ending, and how the wife would probably be amused. It's been a while since I've seen the iceberg though. I could probably find the story at it. I've come to remember more horrifying stories on Reddit. The homeless Holocaust guy, the evil fucked op therapist, who was riding bikes with his cousin and accidentally rooted towards the forest, leading to the cousin to slam against a thick wooden branch, leading to him being paralyzed and having to be taken care of for the rest of their life. The one that stuck with me the most was a comment on 8 what's the most disturbing thing you heard, or what's your dark family secret, or whatever. I've never been able to find it again because I came across it while going through a rabbit hole of disturbing threads. I heard this story from his mom, who was a kid in rural Texas in the 50s. There was a kid in her family who was disabled who suddenly got sick and died one day. At the funeral, people were talking about how it was sad but ultimately for the best, because of what a burden he was on the family. In the middle of the funeral, they started hearing crying and banging coming from the coffin, so they cut the mass short and quickly carried the coffin outside and buried it. A series of posts from some young edgelord, psychologically preying on Redditors in deep emotional pain and asking for advice, help or resources. After I saw one nasty post, I looked up his history, and he was going from one sub to the other, encouraging distraught and depressed people, mostly young ones, to commit suicide. Within the previous 3 weeks had done so at least 8 times, and I became too nauseated to look further. Promptly reported him to the mods of each subreddit had visited, and to admin. Within an hour he had been completely banned. Good riddance. Used to go on 4chan for the green text stories. One random day I woke up at 5:30 a.m. for track practice, was scrolling sitting on the toilet and stumbled across a guy talking about how easy it is to kill someone, that drowning someone is not like the movies. A few people assumed it was just trolling and were interacting until he uploaded pics, and then said something like he had to go because her kid will be home soon. And then someone posted a new article a few hours later of a mom found dead by her son, and the pics matched. So just in real time saw a documentation of a murder. Pretty wild, and stayed off 4chan after that. My old roommate did this. He was a bodybuilder and had been on a super strict diet for months. Well, one weekend we went to Walmart and he saw the Albanese sugar-free gummy bears. He bought like 4 bags. He missed candy and he just had to have something. We watched a movie that night and he went through literally every bag. About 20 minutes later he leaves to the bathroom, then comes back, then leaves again. He did this probably 3 times before I was like, "You okay, bro?" He told me he had horrible stomach cramps and diarrhea. A light went off in my head and I grabbed the pack and looked at the ingredients. It had sorbitol. Oh no, dude. You're fucked. The recommended max is 15 bears before you have issues, and after doing some rough math I figured he ate about 96 of those little bastards. I then went to read the hilarious Amazon review out loud while he was in there. He was simultaneously laughing and dying of misery. I couldn't contain myself and we were both just gut-wrenchingly laughing at the ridiculous situation. It kept him up until 3 a.m. and he felt crappy for days. Miss those days sometimes. Always a funny memory. Scariest video is probably a video of a car crash. The video's recorded from a cop car, and the cop is questioning a woman outside her car. She gets in the car and drives away really fast. Then the next 2 minutes of the video are the cop driving down the side of the highway. Eventually he finds her car cut completely in half after colliding with a truck at over 100 miles per hour. Literally sheared in half, down the middle. I say it's the scariest because I was worried that her corpse was going to show up. But judging by the comments, she was somehow fine. If we can expand scary to mean disgusting, anything related to birth defects is horrible. The most unpleasant of those are either Harlequin babies or this one picture of a newborn with a red swollen eye tumor that was literally the size of the rest of their head. That picture was attached to a medical document. Apparently, it was benign and removed safely about 2 hours after birth. It didn't even bleed. Don't have a link for obvious reason, but I remember seeing the live stream of the mosque shooter going on his spree. I think it was New Zealand in bed, don't remember for sure, and lassie to Google, and he killed plus 50 people. It was streamed using GoPro or the like, so you got really close view of him killing people with R and shotgun. He even made a thread on 4chan just before the attack that you can still find and read. He is also the reason that one initial Diost, I think gas as comments turned off, since he played it during the stream. Another one that comes to mind is the Soul Fairy incident. You can find video of the students in their cabins making farewell videos, making fun of the situation, etc. Chilling caused the crew told to stay there, even when the fucking ship was sinking. There is also clips, images from outside, where you can see students bang on the cabin windows to get help, when the said windows are already at the waterline. What makes this even more depressing was a lot of kids who died were from same school, and the entire thing was result of pure negligence on multiple parties and was avoidable. The scariest thing I read wasn't a post but a comment. It was one of those "what's the scariest thing you've ever experienced" type posts. The comment was along the lines of a now grown man camping with his father and, maybe uncle. As a child, his dad spotted someone very deliberately sneaking towards their camp, in the pitch black in the middle of the woods, like solely commando crawling, dressed in dark clothing, trying to remain hidden. I think it ended with them scaring the creeper off. In not doing the story justice here, but the way it read was spine-tingling. Someone posted a video, a Reddit page that's based in my city, of a security footage showing the front of a restaurant in a hotel building, I believe in broad daylight. The first few seconds, all you see is just people walking in and out of the restaurant, some hanging around the front conversing. Then a few seconds later, you see a man's body drop from one of the high floors of the building a couple of feet behind the people onto the sidewalk, literally exploded into a mist of blood. The most unsettling and disturbing part was that in a different angle of the video, you can see his head roll onto the street and his limbs split from his body, with his guts spilled out. It traumatized me for a month. At one point all the footage got deleted. What's crazy is that the man who dropped and died was so close to landing on one of the individuals walking into the restaurant. This one story where the guy kept talking about how awful it was that his girl cheated on him, and when he was recalling the details of it all, it was clear that his girlfriend had actually been sad. Yet no one in the comments said so. It was a lot of people saying horrible things about her and siding with the guy, excusing him for mistreating her afterwards due to her being a lying, cheating whore. So many comments about guys doing the same thing that she went through, completely oblivious as to what they had done, was saw as well. So many bragging stories about fucking a passed out drunk girl. It's scary to think there might be so many rapists out there that have genuinely no idea who they actually are and what they did. This was many years ago now, that there was a post discussing whether or not it's ethical to have sex with your partner while they're asleep, without asking them beforehand if they're okay with it. You'd think it'd have been a clear cut no, it's not okay, that's sexual assault. But instead, it felt like roughly half of the comments were people saying very confidently and adamantly that they haven't asked their partner for consent, but they know their partner would be okay with it. That thread gave me chills because of the rampant excusing of sexual assault and complete disregard for the importance of consent. There were so many people taking that stance. It was disgusting and permanently darkened my view of humanity more so than it already was. One of the scariest posts I've seen on Reddit was about ghosts or serial killers. It was a quiet post from a user who had meticulously documented their descent into loneliness and mental decline over years. They weren't screaming for help. They weren't angry, just empty. They posted updates in a journal-style thread, describing how they slowly stopped talking to friends, how their routines dissolved, how even going outside felt meaningless. There was no big trauma, no dramatic moment, just a slow fade into isolation, one missed text, one skipped event, one ignored call at a time. The most chilling part? Dozens of replies said, "I'm heading down this same path." It wasn't horror in the cinematic sense. It was the realization that real-life horror is often silent, slow, and invisible until it's too late. That thread still sits with me because the scariest monsters aren't out there. They're the ones we let grow quietly inside. An old but scariest story I read on a Reddit probably. I don't recall the exact details, but it goes something like this. A cop gets called to car where a person has committed suicide on the back seat. When the cop arrives and investigates, it turns out the person had put a rifle under their chin and pulled the trigger. There was no head left on the shoulders. Brain matter and skull pieces scatter in the back of the car. Strangely enough, the skin of the face survived and was hanging limply on the chest. The description was even more gruesome. The body gets carried to a morgue. The face is reconstructed from the skin. The cop now knows how the person looked. But that's not all. The craziest part was, a few days later, the cop gets a call from a person. When the cop meets the said person, he is shocked and stunned. The cop was looking at the dead person. The cop couldn't process what was happening. Turns out, the person in front of the cop was an identical twin of the dead person and was there to collect personal belongings of their now dead twin. Crazy, right? Life is sometimes stranger than fiction.